How's it going, everyone? I hope you're all doing good. Welcome to another audio log. I haven't put one of these out in a while because I've been making some other videos, some of which you've probably seen on the channel. I've started a new series of videos all about drawing the box mannequin, and I think at this point I've uploaded 3 or 4 videos, and I do have more of them lined up as well, but I don't just want to only upload those for the next few weeks, so that's why I thought I'd break it up here with this audio log. However, to make one of these audio logs, I need to have something to talk about, right? And so, as I was creating this drawing that you are seeing on screen right now, I was thinking about what I could talk about here, and I came up with the idea to talk about art styles and how an artist develops their own style. So I'm not talking about style in terms of art movements like Art Deco, abstract expressionism, and stuff like that. No, I'm talking about each of us as individual artists, each having our own art style when it comes to the art that we make. Now, it seems like everybody wants their work to have a unique style, right? It's like a form of identity, I suppose, that to some extent cannot be recreated. In a way, it's a means of establishing a reputation as well, right? We all have artists who we admire because of the work that they produce, and a lot of the time, you can tell what artwork was created by which artist just because of its style. And when I say style, what do I mean by that? What constitutes as a style? Well, to me, I'd say that a style can emerge from many things, like the way an artist draws or paints, or the techniques they use, their methods of working, or the subjects they typically draw. It might be their choice of colour, or the way they compose their images. It could be so many things, and all of these things come together to result in a style that is exclusive to that artist. Now, artists who are well known because of their art style generally produce work which has a more distinctive quality to it, something that isn't too common, let's say, something that people look at and notice, even question sometimes, and this is where things can often get subjective because it might be something that some people like and some people don't, but that's a good thing because it creates variation. It doesn't mean everyone's producing the same thing, but regardless, an art style is a result of the artist's creative decisions. Now, I think I've discussed this in one of my previous videos, but one common trap a beginner artist can fall into is having the desire to develop a style too early. Like if you are going through the process, learning how to draw, and are still finding your feet in regards to what it is that you want to create, then it's unlikely that you're going to have the means to invent a consistent style, because that's another thing, right? Style is something that's consistent. You don't have a style if each piece of artwork looks vastly different. Usually a style is omnipresent, right? It's always there. And if you are still learning, your work is probably evolving at a pace that's too fast for a set-in-stone style to develop, not to mention the lack of experience. You have to learn the rules before you break them, and trying to force these things too early on won't be of any benefit. It's also less of a priority for a beginner to be focused on developing an art style. Instead, that style will naturally develop over time and at the right time. It will emerge on its own, influenced by your interests and ability. And so, at an early stage, instead of spending your time thinking about having or not having a style to your art, think about your general interests instead, about what it is that you want to do. What art do you want to create? Spend time developing your drawing skills, study new techniques, and make sure to look and observe the work of artists you admire, be inspired and appreciate their work, but don't let it have too much of an influence when you've got your own thing coming, right? Now, I know that all of this is easy to say, but harder to do. I remember when I was learning how to draw, I always used to look at other artists' work and would try and do the same. I think in a way that's part of the process, right? We all do that. You start by looking towards others for guidance, you see what they're doing, and your desire to draw and produce work like that results in you attempting to imitate it, almost. I always used to sit and copy other drawings by artists when I was younger. In fact, thinking about it when I was growing up, I would mostly redraw other artists' drawings, trying to recreate the same image. I never really concerned myself with the artists themselves. I'd just see a cool looking image that I wanted to draw myself. But now, in retrospect, I think I unconsciously learn a lot by doing that, by trying to replicate existing artwork. And I was just a kid, I wasn't profiting off it or anything. I was just showing my mum and dad and my friends the drawings I was making. I'd rarely draw from my imagination when I was younger. Instead, I really just enjoyed the process of drawing, having something at the end that looked good. I'd always draw The Simpsons using the old comics that they had as reference. I don't know if they still make them. I actually came across some of those comics the other day, but that's a fond memory that I have, sitting at the kitchen table drawing Simpsons characters. But back to the subject at hand, eventually, with time and experience, you will start to come into your own, and everything that influenced your work and played a part in shaping what it is will still be there, but it often becomes more subtle. You're not imitating other artists now, you are producing something that comes from you, just with a hint of something else. It's like cooking a meal, right? You have your ingredients and you have your recipe. Without the right ingredients, you cannot make the meal. I don't know if that was a good analogy or not, but hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Someone might look at your work and say, this artist reminds me of the work by this artist, or this work is like a combination of this artist and that artist, and usually people say those things based on their own knowledge, what they know, right? They might not have a lot to compare it to, but you'll often find from observing your own work that there's always some hint of what had and continues to influence you. Whether that's the work of other artists or something else, and these are the things which contribute to a style. Another thing that obviously influences an artist's style is their ability, and some people will even use it as an excuse, right? They'll say, I draw my hands like this because that's my style, when the reality is they just struggle to draw hands. So instead, they draw what looks like mittens for hands and say, I've done that intentionally because that's my style, but like I said earlier, you need to learn the rules before you break them. Fair enough if it's true and you can easily draw normal looking hands and are genuinely choosing to draw hands that look like mittens, then yeah, that's your style, I suppose. And usually they'll suit the rest of the drawing because that style stems from the artist. But we can only do what we know, right? That's why it's so important to continue learning new things. It opens up more doors to you. Let's say you spent a few years learning how to draw people. Well, now that you can do that, your work has likely evolved, and along the way, perhaps you've learned a few tricks and developed a certain way of drawing people that really appeals to you. These people you draw also have a style to them, and that style was born naturally as a result of learning how to draw people. So that's why we should continue to learn and try to develop our art. In a way, a style is rather limiting, isn't it? Because you can become so reliant on that style. Everyone else recognises your work because of it. Now, all of a sudden, you can't get away from it. It's like I said earlier on, it becomes like a form of identity in a way, which I'm just guessing probably has some negatives. Also, as an end note here, I want to say that it's fine to not have a style, right? Like, technically, if you create something, it's your style, right? You made it, but it doesn't have to be something that stands out from everything else. You don't need a reputation for working a certain way or a unique trait. At the end of the day, just have fun drawing, have fun with the art that you make. If a style emerges, then great. go along with it. But if you can't pinpoint a style or any consistency when you look at your work, then so be it. Maybe each drawing you make looks different from the next one. It doesn't matter. It's still your work. You're free to create whatever you please. You're not restricted to drawing a certain way. It's like the drawing that you are seeing on screen right now. In a way, I'm returning to my roots, drawing like this, creating a realistic pencil drawing. But do I think of this as my style? No, not really. I personally don't think I have a standout style, but there is some consistency between all of my drawings. Actually, on second thought, I do think that the way that I produce textures results in my drawings having somewhat of a style to them, but it's not intentional. That's just how I draw. That's how I learned to draw, and whatever came from that came naturally. So I hope you enjoyed this audio log and can take something away from it. Let me know your own thoughts in regards to art styles in the comments down below. I hope you found these audio logs enjoyable. If you want to see more of them, be sure to give this a like. I will continue to upload these in between the tutorials that I put out as well. They're a good way for me to talk to you about anything that I feel like talking about. So with that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed the content I create, then do consider becoming a patron on Patreon. You will gain access to exclusive tutorials, study documents, process papers, real-time drawing footage and more. Plus you will also be supporting me in a more personal way. Other than that, thank you for watching this video and I'll see you soon.